So these rough country winches have been out for a while now. I bought one when they first came out. I think that was 4 or 5 years ago. And I've pretty much neglected all maintenance on it in that time frame. And now it's finally gotten to the point where I click the button on the remote and I can hear the solenoid click, but that's all it does. It no longer functions properly. So the first thing I wanted to check was the control box and the solenoid, which is contained in this upper housing here. Rough Country actually sells a replacement for that, and it's only $50. I don't want to take this winch off of here, so I'm going to try to replace it on the truck and hopefully kind of give you some step-by-step here as far as how I did it. And if that fixes it, then this should be a super easy fix for your Rough Country winch. So on the front of the winch here, there's kind of this decorative plate that covers the rod that gets bolted to hold the two halves of the housing onto the spool. There's a little Allen set screw on either side right here. It's very small. I don't actually have what size it is, but this Allen was in a normal kit that I had. And then one obviously on the opposite side there. So just loosen those, and then this part comes right off. And you can see that the control box is really just held on. It hooks in the front and then rests on the back, so this just lifts and comes right off. Now, if you're doing this on your winch, I'd recommend that you disconnect it from the battery. I'm lazy today and I don't feel like doing that, so we're just going to do these all one at a time. So we're going to start simply by peeling back the rubber boots to expose the nuts. We'll remove this and then attach it right away to the new control box. So not only are the positions the same, but you can see on the new control box that the studs that come out of there are color coordinated with the crimp that's on the wire. So we're getting everything off of the old box here and put onto the new one. Just remember, if you are doing this with the battery hooked up, which you shouldn't do, just make sure your ends are covered so that this isn't arcing and sparking on anything as you go along here. So everything's on there other than the yellow one. These are all just getting tightened up with a 12mm open-ended wrench. And of course, then as you get these snugged up, just take your rubber boot and slide it back over. So lastly, on the back side of the control box here, there's this thin black wire. This is a ground wire. So on the old one here, it's still hooked up so I can show you. Don't mind the bugs. So that comes down behind the winch and is actually on this bolt here, which I think we could still access, even though it's still mounted on the winch plate. So we're going to pop that off and get that ground wire attached. This nut that's under here, by the way, is going to be a little bit larger. That's going to be a 13mm. So I'll try to show you this here. There's a thicker black wire, a washer, and then, if I can do this one-handed, and then that little tiny ground wire. That's the one that we're replacing, is this one that I'm touching up top there. Let me move that out of the way. This one. That's the one that's got to get replaced. This goes on just the opposite. We took the old one off. So those two prongs in the back slide above that bar. Right there. So that'll slide above there. And then in the front, they just kind of hook onto the bar. Just like that. So we can take our cover panel and put that back on. That just kind of rests there. And then we will tighten up these set screws. So we got the remote hooked up, so now is the moment of truth. Yep, sure enough, that's all it took was $50, and now we can go back out on the trails. So not bad when you consider I haven't done literally anything to this winch in 4 or 5 years, including driving it through winter, being submerged underwater, and a whole bunch of other things that you really shouldn't do with a winch. But hey, $50, not bad.